Hi, and welcome to For Book Lovers Only, where we interview some great authors and talk about some amazing books. My name is Rob Brown, Chief Book Lover and host of the show. And today we have a very special guest. She is a woman of many talents. She is an author, a public speaker, and the CEO of Smooth Sail. Please welcome to the show, Elinor Stutz. Elinor, thank you so much for being here. Really happy to have you here.
Well, thank you, Rob. It's an honor to be here.
You know, you and I had spoken about you being a guest on the show for quite some time. I know we had met, what was it? We met like almost a year ago?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of things going on. You were recently transplanted from California, yes?
That's true. We moved about a year ago, and it was a very nice move.
Okay, and what part of California did you live in?
Northern. We were in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay, and what made you move here to the Washington, D.C. area?
The main motivating factor was grandchildren.
Oh, okay. How many grandkids do you have?
We now have 2 as of about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So
congratulations.
Thank you. We wanted to be part of their lives, but as it turned out, it was a wonderful move on many levels.
And you are the CEO of a company, yes?
Yes, Smooth Sail, a sales training company. I come from the corporate sales world.
I see. And how did you start that company?
It's a long backwards story. I was in corporate sales for 11 years, and it was at a time when women weren't wanted on sales teams. And so the men, including management, did not speak to me. I had no training. I didn't know what I was supposed to sell or how. But I refused to quit because my goal was to be a good role model for my children. And so everywhere I went in, I asked why I was invited in, and by the 3rd month, the client said, "Why don't you just bring a brochure in so we'll know what you're selling? You're so much fun to talk to. We want to buy from you." The 4th month, I was the top producer and kept that rating throughout my career, and every year I had to change jobs. Fast forward, I was the victim of a couple car accidents with a very badly broken neck. And while my family was being told I would be best case paralyzed, and we all know what the other option was, right, I had 2 very unusual things happen to me in form of vision. And this is the basis for Smooth Sail, to always hold that vision at your heart to make it come true. You read about it, never happens to you, but there I was on the stretcher waiting to be admitted, and I noticed a gold light come over my entire body. And then a first vision popped up, and it was a life report card. And on the left-hand side, very high marks. The right-hand side, completely blank. And I was stunned. It was entitled Community Service. So in the instant, I gave a pledge to myself and the great beyond that should I be able to walk out of the hospital, notice I'm always negotiating, that I would begin giving back to communities, though I didn't know how. With that vision faded away, and a second vision came up. And it was a vision of a generic speaker standing on a mound, looking like he was talking to audiences far and wide. And I began questioning, well, I have long hair, that looks like a male, is that really me? And then I heard a voice in my head, do you believe that can be you? And with all the energy left in my body, I said, yes, I can absolutely grow into becoming that speaker I've always wanted to. And I will be that speaker giving back to communities. And with that, the vision faded away, and then slowly the gold light dissipated. And from that point, I knew I was going to be well, and that I would grow into helping communities and become a speaker, but I didn't know in what capacity. However, fast forward, I'm not telling you the whole story, but fast forward to Smooth Sail, the thought of going back to corporate just put a knot in my stomach.
I imagine it would.
And I knew that I had to live to what I promised I would do, and so I started Smooth Sail.
Well, let's go back to when you were in corporate America. I can imagine, you know, the types of challenges that you face, but are there any particular incidents that you faced where you're like, listen, I can't take this anymore, there has to be a change?
Oh yeah, well, number one, what still irks me is the discrepancy in pay. That just drives me insane, because women are in my experience, pay closer attention to detail and make certain, you know, they say it's a downfall of women caring about what other people think and if they like you, but in sales that's critical. It's of the essence. And that's why most women are better producers than the men, factually. The other thing, the really bad incident, the worst one that I encountered was the 5th month I was going to be the top producer again, and the sales manager said, okay, you guys, Elinor makes her numbers, I'm going to take you to a lingerie fashion show. And I said, what? I said, it's my numbers. Let's go to a movie. I'll even go to a ball game. And he said, nope, I promised them a lingerie fashion show, and that's what we're going to do. And it was at a place that was attached to a motel, a mother-daughter combo, modeling these crazy outfits, and you know what was going on.
Right.
So I didn't know what to do. My husband said, I'm staying out of this one. And the day of, the only females in the office besides me were the secretaries, and they were looking at me, you know, what are you going to do? And I honestly didn't know, but honest to goodness, it was as if my car drove me there. And then guess what I did? It was a long table for some reason, not a round one. And for some crazy reason, the end chair was empty, and I sat down and I took control like I was the CEO of that luncheon. And I would call questions across the tables about business equipment. How does this work? What does this button mean? What does the service people say? I didn't let them enjoy the fashion show at all. By the time it was over, the manager said, I promise to never do this again.
That's an amazing story. So when you were in corporate America, how did you teach yourself sales skills, or how did you, because it sounded like you had a lot of opposition based on your gender, so you had to be basically self-taught with regards to sales. Is that how it transpired?
Yeah, exactly. It turned out that I'm what's referred to as a natural-born salesperson. And my husband saw that in me. I actually asked him initially when he said, I have the personality of a salesperson, I asked him, is that a compliment or an insult? Because, you know, most people have negative thoughts about salespeople. But I'll give you an example. When I was 10, I was dying to sell Girl Scout cookies. My mother finally agreed that I could go out. And the first lady, an older lady, said, oh, I'm on a diet. I can't eat those. I'm so sorry. And I stood and I looked at her and I said, do you have grandchildren or nieces and nephews? And she said, yes, why? And I said, don't you think they might visit more often if you had a pantry filled with snacks for them that they like? The lady bought 3 boxes. I never forgot that. No training.
Wow, so you just have a natural acumen for sales.
I can put myself in the other person's position and get into their mindset. It's intuitive.
Okay, and intuition is very important, especially in the sales.
Oh yeah, it is.
The sales arena.
Yeah,
and
you can't teach that.
Yeah, you can't. You really can't. And you wrote a book called Nice Girls Do Get the Sale, correct?
That's correct, and it's based on my corporate career, all the crazy things that happened. And people told me when they read it that it was laugh out loud funny, but I can tell you when I was going through it, it was anything but funny.
And what are some things that you discuss in the book with regards to, you know, nice girls do getting the sale? Like, are there specific lessons that you teach in the book?
Yes, most salespeople will talk. I just had that experience yesterday and it drove me insane. Didn't listen to my questions. And I'm the type that actually goes in and I listen. Why did you invite me in today, Rob? What caught your attention? And let the other person speak. And then start asking questions about what they say. And as they take your information in, watch the facial expressions, the body language. And if an eyebrow goes up, stop mid-sentence and ask if they have a question. Let it all get out. And then if you were able to do that, you get the entire picture of what's truly on their mind, where their needs are. And my motto is don't ever sell if it's not going to benefit the other party.
Well, that's probably a philosophy that a lot of salespeople really don't adhere to. A lot of them just like, I want to sell you something. I don't care if it helps you or not. I'm going to sell something. But you teach something different. Very
different. And I love Twitter, and one of my tweets is, when you walk in integrity, you never have to change your story.
Oh, that's great. I love that
Thank
saying.
you.
Now, the book is entitled Nice Girls Do Get the Sale, but I assume that men can read the book and get, valuable lessons out of it as well.
That's a great question. I was actually horrified when that title came out from the publisher because I thought, oh my goodness, they cut off half the population. But men are reading it and they're retweeting it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had great results. I actually beat all records. And this is the thing, if you have a book in your mind or an idea of how to proceed with your business, don't let anybody stop you. Statistics are made to be broken. We've all heard how publishing houses say no and it can take 40 to 70 attempts. I've heard these stories. My first attempt writing since college, which was many years ago, first publishing house said yes. And then that book, Nice Girls Do Get the Sale, was featured in Time magazine, translated into 3 languages, and became known as an international bestseller.
Oh, that is a remarkable accomplishment.
My first attempt.
Your first attempt. Wow, that is absolutely remarkable. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. So here's one more tip for business people and authors. Write what's in your heart, in your mind, balance it out, and you'll have a great product.
Now, have you gotten a lot of feedback from, let's say, other women who have been in similar situations in corporate America that face the same type of challenges that you did?
Yes, and I'd just like to make a remark about that. When I pressed submit for the manuscript and recognized what I wrote in there and what I put up with, I thought, oh my goodness, what I do, people would think I'm a nutcase. But the opposite turned out. Turned out I became a leader of the pack. And then people who I admired slowly over the years admitted the same treatment was sent their way too.
Oh, wow. I guess that's not surprising, though. It sounds like it's a common
You always think
common
it's
problem.
just me, but
Right.
that's not true.
And that's just your first book. Now you have another book called Hired, correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Hired.
For years, I kept that promise, and I still do, helping communities. And my way of helping initially was teaching groups of job seekers how to sell themselves on interviews. And my favorite story about that, at one gathering in California, an IT person came up to me like seconds before I was going to get on stage. And he said, I want you to know, I think this is a pile of crap to sell yourself on an interview. And I came just to prove it to myself that that's the case. And I, with a big smile on my face, because I'm used to objections being a salesperson, and
Right.
I said, thank you for that insight. Would you do me a favor? He said, what's that? Would you please stay till after I finish speaking and let me know if you still believe this is the case? And I said, yes. So after I finished, everybody left. He was still there. We had a nice conversation, and he said, I put my foot in my mouth. This was the best career information I ever heard.
Wow.
And he put a testimonial on Amazon for me.
Amazing. So what type of things does the book Hired teach? I mean, it teaches using sales tactics and sales techniques to sell yourself during an interview. What type of sales tactics can a person use when they're going into an interview?
Well, I shouldn't say the whole thing, but a big part of it is to do research first. Understand the company and the people behind it. Understand who the competition is and their management style and how they compare and compete, the advantages, disadvantages, and different types of clientele they each have. And when you go in on an interview, you can say, I did a little research, I saw this, could you explain more about it to me? You are the seller, so you let them do most of the talking. Conversations are two-way. Most people sit there and just answer questions. You really have to sell yourself and understand how you can make a difference being in that position and how you can benefit the client. That's why you need to ask solid questions too. And qualify and match. Go on lots of interviews. Maybe interview with their competitor so they get an insight on the industry and you have more knowledge going into the job you really want. And don't be too anxious to say, yes, I want it. But you have to say, I'm very interested. I have a number of interviews lined up. Should we both decide this is the best fit? When do you believe the start time might be?
So it sounds to me like one of the things that the book teaches is that when a person is on an interview for a potential position that they may be qualified for, it's not so much that they should sit there and answer questions. Obviously they should, but they should be, just as apt to ask as many questions as they are to answer the questions, correct?
Exactly. So a couple important questions would be, could you describe a typical day in this position? And what might a career path advancement look like? So you get an idea. I mean, am I going to be stuck in this job for 25 years? Should I choose to stay here? Or is there some way of elevating my career path?
I see. And what type of feedback have you gotten from hired? I imagine with the way the economy has been in the past few years that a lot of people have probably taken particular notice of this book and the lessons that it teaches.
I've gotten so many thank you notes that they were able to land their desired job. It made me feel really good. I keep thinking back to that vision where I made a promise I'd help communities.
Amazing. And have you gotten feedback not just from people who are interviewing for positions, but have you gotten feedback from employers that read the book and it's like, hey, you know what, this book is right on point?
I have to admit, no, I have not.
Well, they probably look at the book and say, hey, she's giving up all of our secrets.
I think that's what's going on.
And
I'll tell you another funny anecdote. When my third job, I was given a personality test, and on it, it asked the question, would you rather drive an ice cream truck or be a kamikaze pilot? And so here's a very important secret. I stopped and I looked at that question for 5 minutes. Obviously, I don't want to kill myself.
right.
And I'm not that daring, somewhat daring. But driving an ice cream truck after a couple days would be pretty darn boring. And I started thinking about the job. I put myself mentally and visually in the position I was applying for,
Right.
and that's what applicants need to do. You have to take risks to get into the bigger companies, to make the bigger sales, get those bonuses. And so I put kamikaze pilot.
Oh.
I was hired, and the first thing the sales manager said to me was, I don't know whether to be thrilled to death you're on my team or scared to death of you.
Probably a little combination of both.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier, you also have a series of books, ebooks that are coming out within the next, 6 months?
That's my goal, and I'm usually right on target for goals. I have a third book coming out probably within a few weeks. It's a perspective of putting sales on a higher playing field, and then it delves into a 360-degree business development program, including social media, the better techniques, and then converts the entire activity at the end of the book back into converting into sales. So that's the book coming out. And then the series of books, I have so much content written over the years, articles and blogs and things, that I have related subject matter on leadership, communication, career, just many, many different topics. And it'll be 7 or 8 ebooks.
Wow, that's really exciting.
Thank
So
you.
you're going to have a very busy 2016.
I am. I'm very excited about it. It gives me something to look forward to.
Absolutely. And for our book lovers who are watching that are interested in learning more about you and your books and your upcoming ebooks for 2016, do you have a website where they can visit?
I do, thank you. It's smoothsale.net, and it's spelled SMOOTHSALE.net.
Great. Elinor, thank you so much for being our guest here today. I'm really happy to see you. It's always good and always a pleasure to spend some time with you, and look forward to you stopping by and visiting us again soon.
I look forward to it, Robin. Thank you for having me as your guest today. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you for watching today for Book Lovers Only. If you want to learn more about Elinor Stutz and her books and maybe get a copy, please visit www.forbookloversonly.com. And while you're there, you can get on our mailing list. Also, be sure to visit The Village at www.villageconnector.com. My name is Rob Brown, your host and chief book lover here at For Book Lovers Only. We'll see you next time, and remember, if you love books, we have a home for you. Take care.